Hi, everybody. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi coming to you live from Los Angeles, California, where we discuss U.S. immigration and I take your questions live on YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok every week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, taking general educational questions not intended as individual legal guidance. We got to talk with you in private to see what's going on with your particular situation. But we've been coming here for years. I think we're hitting the 5 year mark or we passed the 5 year mark taking your questions to help you have a better understanding of what's going on in this confusing and ever-changing system. Almost every day it changes of U.S. immigration law, based on my experience of 15 years doing this, teaching it as a professor, guiding, mentoring other immigration lawyers, publishing a magazine, a podcast separate called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Podcast and Magazine. And a lot more. We have hundreds, probably at this point, maybe 1,000 hours of content on this matter, prolific, if you will. But we love doing it. I love talking about this stuff, and our team loves it as well. The JQK Law Firm. If you want to schedule a private consultation, go to our website, jqklaw.com/contact, jqklaw.com/contact. Fill in the box there to get some, for us to get some basic information, what's going on, what you're looking for. We can take it from there, schedule our consultations do have a fee. It's paid, but it's a consultation to get a better understanding and really investigate your case and give some good guidance there. If you're interested in a marriage green card case, you should download our guide. Marriageimmigrationlaw.com is a website. It's the ultimate marriage green card guide, 50 plus pages of good guidance and not guidance per se, but just breaking down the whole process. So even before you talk with the immigration attorney, you learn everything to know there so you can have some good questions when you have a meeting. So again, the website for that is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. So we got our first question from Nita. I filed both the I-130 and I-485 for my mother while she's in the U.S. She entered the country legally and was on a valid visa at the time of filing. Unfortunately, she has been diagnosed with cancer. I'm sorry to hear that. Urgently needs to return home to Iran to begin treatment. My question, should we provide USCIS with any documentation about a diagnosis and emergency powers, or what would you do? Well, you should have applied for, I'm sorry to hear about your mother. Hopefully she gets better, but you should have applied for what's called emergency advance parole, just advance parole with the application. If you haven't done that already, the timelines, you ask what would happen, the timelines say 15 months. Timelines on the USCIS website are garbage. That's not going to apply. And so if she leaves, the application is just going to disappear essentially. And then she probably won't be allowed back to the United States. So you have to request and call USCIS to request what's called emergency advance parole, and then go in person and submit a form I-131 for permission for one-time travel outside the U.S. The problem is that one-time travel will be limited to 30 if they're nice 90 days. I'm not sure, and they have to prove it. But now under the new regime, they're probably going to want to do an interview with your mom, so she may have to come back for an in-person interview. Maybe you kick the can down the road, reschedule the interview, or they may approve it without the interview. But it's a messy situation that you're in. But if she has to leave, you got to apply for emergency advance parole from I-131 and go to your local field office to get that. That's just what needs to be done for at least some travel, one-time travel, and seeing what happens. So these are the kind of things that if you had an attorney, we prepped this ahead of time. I mean, you wouldn't know that you're going to get cancer, but at least know the idea of advanced parole and to be able to quickly act on applying for emergency advanced parole. So a lot of people ask, why do I need a lawyer and stuff like that? I have an easy case. Life is easy many times. You just go about your day, but then things pop up, and it's really a form of insurance. So you have someone that hold your hand to quickly react, especially with our law firm. We want to be fast and be there for our clients. So that's what we do. HAI says, I overstayed my B2 visa as a tourist visa and then applied for asylum, which has been pending for 10 years. I now have an adjustment of status interview based on a marriage to a U.S. citizen. Will the visa overstay be an issue to come up during the interview? No, if you're married to a U.S. citizen, an overstay on a visa is waived. They don't really get into that. So people are watching on TikTok. My TikTok's kind of frozen. I can't scroll down for the questions and stuff. I'm not sure why that is. I can see my video moving, but it just won't let me scroll down to see your questions. So please don't ask the same question 50 times. The system is just not working. Hopefully it will. All right. So these situations are, I can ask, my I-130 was approved last week. Congrats. And I chose to adjust status. However, I'm not currently in the U.S. Can I travel to the U.S. now and adjust status to my tourist visa, or do I have to file Form I-824? Well, you should have marked the I-130 to have your case sent to the embassy instead of for processing with USCIS. This is another reason people do on their own, create a lot of problems for yourself, because now you're going to be delayed a year or more maybe, and you have to pay $600-700 more just for that, even if you don't hire an attorney, just because you marked the wrong box when you're processing your case. The reality is you're not, and I'm not allowed to tell you to come to U.S. with a tourist visa. they might not let you in. And even if they do, they might hassle you and say you had immigrant intent. This is the idea that you entered with a non-immigrant visa, a temporary visa, like a tourist visa, but you were lying. You actually wanted to come and stay here. So you don't want yourself involved with that. The guidance would be to do an IA-24, which is requesting that the USCIS send the case to the embassy for processing. Sometimes it gets approved in 3-4 months, but 98% of the time it takes like 15 to 18 months. And again, the I-24 has its own fees. I'm not sure what they are, and I can't remember. But that one mistake from one question off from I-130 created a heck of a problem for you right there. Now, for those watching on TikTok, I'm going to restart because it's frozen and it's not really working. I can't see your questions. Let me see if I can mess around with it. So the immigration thing is there's so many moving parts with U.S. immigration law that there's so many questions, so many different documents, all this kind of stuff. So it leads to these problems where you just miss one thing that seems pretty simple and it really gets you. Akeem says, would I be able to travel to the U.S. after I filed the I-2 for my tourist visa for vacation? You can, but it's up to the border protection, CBP, the Customs Border Protection, the airport, or the port of entry, whether they'll accept you or not. You always run the risks of having that. Now, you can say at the airport, listen, I filed an I-2 I spent all this extra money on this. I do not plan on staying, but I just want to come visit. And so that's that. Opti says, I have questions regarding recent CVIS cancellations. Go ahead and ask your questions, Opti, but this is a new thing. It's not really clear what's going on. Lawsuits are happening. Alciano says, are U.S. citizens supporting Palestine in trouble at the airport? I mean, they could always be taken to secondary and inspected and accused of stuff and hassled, but most likely citizens will be hassling them. If they really want to get nasty, if you're a naturalized U.S. citizen, you're a person who's a green card holder, then became a citizen, they can go back and look to see what you're doing when you're a green card holder and say you're supporting a terrorist group, and they'll denaturalize you and take your citizenship away. I doubt that's going to happen. That's pretty extreme, but if they want to get really nasty, they can do stuff like that. Let's try. Samantha says, hi, I did my interview 8 months ago, still no decision. What can be done? Samantha, was it in the U.S. interview or with USCIS or at the embassy? Daisy says, I've overstayed my B1, B2 and approved VAWA, but I'm outside the U.S. Do I need a waiver to enter the U.S. again? I think VAWA cases still do require 3 and 10-year bar waivers. I don't do VAWA cases myself at our firm, so I don't advise on that. I think actually VAWA does waive the 3 10-year bar, but I'm not positive. And it depends on how long you overstayed. So, but I don't handle VAWA cases, so I don't want to start giving like discussions about that here. That's not my expertise. Alicia says, I have a pending waiver for J1. I'm a married U.S. citizen. Am I at risk of deportation? If you're out of status or don't have an underlying status, yeah, you are generally at risk of deportation. Now, high you are on the totem pool of people for them to look at. If you don't have criminal history or something like that, unlikely to have a problem. There's millions of people like your situation if you're out of status. But if you're at risk of deportation, the risk exists. If that's that. And thank you for the rose, Alicia, as well, and the gift. Danny says, can interview be waived for Form I-290B motion reopen? There's no interview for I-290B motion reopen. They usually just do that by paper. Carlos says, can I travel if I have I-751 pending, no criminal records, but got divorced? Can he travel? Sure. I mean, I don't know if you could travel if there's problems for you. I don't know anything about your background. You always run the risk of having issues. Generally, people can't travel with I-751 pending in the receipt, but whether you can or stuff like that, inevitably it's up to the customs officer you deal with. Faye says, green card holder, no criminal record, family are U.S. citizens, traveling for UAE. Will I be okay? I don't know, Faye. I can't give individual legal guidance here. Faye says, I only have TT. I don't know what TT is. Samantha says, yes, I'm in the U.S. and married to a born U.S. citizen. It really shouldn't take that long. I've never seen a marriage case take that long unless they're doing like an investigation to your case. So you should talk with a lawyer private to review the application package you submitted and go over what you did at the interview, what was asked, what happened, to see if there's any problems you could spot, and maybe it could be solved by sending that info in. Potentially, it could just be messing up too. So that's it. But I would say schedule a private consultation. We'll talk for half an hour and see what happens, see if I can spot anything, and then maybe just write them a letter saying, hey, what's going on. You're welcome, Daisy. Shirok says, I have a 5-year work permit, C10 category. I just received a U visa bona fide. Should I reapply work permit? I mean, that's up to you. That's if you want to do that. Opti says, one of my friends' CVIS record got canceled and she's never been in participate in any protests and always obey the law. What is the best action to preserve her F1 and solve the misunderstanding? Contact the school, see if they'll do reinstatement, but they may have to be lawsuits. The government just started doing this 10 days ago, where they just are denying student visas, canceling out their student visa holders, and some people have done nothing. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. Lawsuit inevitably would thing to do. There's an attorney Shabnam Lotfi who's filed a lawsuit and got an injunction on one of these cases, but there's mass lawsuits coming on this issue. But reinstatement might be one, but also the lawsuit may be the way to go. It's gonna cost some money, but that's what you got to do. GT Bourne says, my wife lives in DR. We have filed an I-130 and she has a tourist visa. Can she visit here? She can try visiting here. It's up to the Border Protection Officers, CBP, at the airport or port of entry, whether they'll let you in or not. It's their discretion. LG says, it's safe to travel with expired green card with extension letter. Generally, it's safe to drive in a car, but some people get in accidents, get hurt. Now, how often does that actually happen? It's rare. But when we have a lot of questions. Is it safe? It's just as safe it is to get in your car and drive to work or go visit your friends. You don't really expect anything to happen, and usually almost never it does. But we buy insurance because inevitably something's going to happen to some people. What is Form I-797C? Form I-797 is a notice that the government sends you. It doesn't give me any information; it just means a notice that they sent you. You have to read what's on the actual form, the paper, to see what it is. Pay says, green card holder, no criminal record. We have answered your question. Mimi, what would be the fastest from Pakistan, a K3 spouse or a K1 visa? There's no fastest way from Pakistan because the embassy interviews, it doesn't really matter. John says they're all the same. You kind of want to just go which one's the stronger case for you. John says, how long to get approved AOS of K1 visa after marriage? 3 to 12 months average, could be longer. Optine says, thank you so much. Should they get a lawyer from the same state or can they apply for lawsuit lawyers from other states? The lawyer from the other state would have to be able to have the bar requirements to practice law or do a lawsuit in that specific federal court. But a lot of times lawyers could get another lawyer in that other jurisdiction to sign off and let them use through their. It's a technical thing. It will cost like $500,000 more, but it's doable. Hey, Aaron, good to see you again. ASAP says, what happens if I-290 is denied? Then it's denied. You're out of luck. William says, if you stay for 4 months in the U.S. on a tourist visa, can you return to the U.S.? It's always up to the border officer whether they'll allow you to return or not. How much is a consultation? It depends on the case type that you have, $275, $350, or maybe even more. Samantha says, okay, how can I contact you? Go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact, and fill that small questionnaire there. And then we'll get we can reply once you do that. So it gives us your phone number, your email, your name, and a brief history of your case and how you learn about us. So we have to get that data and we have in our systems, and then we'll reply there. Or you get an email from us. Faye says, do you have any green card holders reach out from being detained? No. Fit by Belly says, I'm a Canadian with the E2 visa. It's an investor visa, small business. Traveling by air to the U.S. next week and nervous about border crossing tips. There's nothing to be nervous about as long as you have criminal history, arrests, or stuff like that, or talking about Israel or Hamas or something like that. And then just make sure your E2 cases, your business is running. If you're an employee, you have your paperwork in order. It's nothing to be worried about. Mimi, go ahead and ask the question. Shirag, thank you. Demon says F2, a student visa, spousal student visa to H1B. How often do people get it? There's not statistics on that particular fact pattern, but how often it's like a worthless fact. It doesn't make a difference. It's just you have a good case, you get it. But it's not something that's like meaningful to see how often people get it. It's just a case type that happens. Opti says, I appreciate it a lot. So they can stay in the States and apply for lawsuits because if they leave, the chance of getting an immigrant visa are lower. Incorrect? Well, you technically can't stay in the States. I mean, they could come and pick you up and detain you, put you in immigration for removal. So go to immigration court. But that's what the lawsuit's about. You seek an immediate injunction so the court could act fast and stop everything. So I can't say the state is subject to being removed, but the government could do whatever they want. They deport a guy to El Salvador by mistake. They don't care. So anything's possible. But the lawsuit would be to get an injunction to stop things, to put things back in order temporarily. And so the judge would say, don't mess with this person. And so that's how much it is. How much is a consultation? Well, we have to know what kind of case you have, how much service you need, all that kind of stuff. So you go to our website, jqqlaw.com/contact. You fill in the basic information there. Once I have an understanding what kind of case it is, I give you more. Because if you have like a super complex case that needs like 4 consultations, need hours and analyze, there may be additional consultation fees. I don't know. So that's why we just collect the basic information, know what's going on with your case first, and then we quote it. Initial consultation fee. Batsal says, are they starting to do marriage-based green card interviews for everybody? How struck are they nowadays? How stuck are they? Essentially, we're just getting interviews left and right in the last like 10 days. How stuck are they? I don't know. That's not something they released. Samantha says, how can I contact you? What's the fee for you to write them a letter on my behalf? I don't know. I have to see what's going on. I can see what the letter is, what your background is, if it's if I can even accept writing a letter on behalf. If you come to me and you say like, oh, it's a fake marriage, I'm not going to write a letter on behalf to represent a person. I don't think that's the case for you, Samantha. But just have a consultation first and just go to the website. We'll do it. I don't talk about fees here because the fees change, and so I don't want to have on record that this is the fee. Because then someone says, oh, you sent this video with this, and it's different. They think I'm lying or something. DD says, can an attorney request detainee to be transferred to the ICE facility for court purposes? I don't handle ICE work and detainee work, so I don't want to answer that question. It's not my experience. You're welcome, Faye. Mimi, would it be faster if I transfer my interview from Pakistan to a different country? Probably, but it's hard to do that a lot of times. How strict are they nowadays? What do you mean by strict? I mean, I ask a lot of questions on the forums that are stupid questions of like, are you a child soldier? Are you a Nazi prison guard in 1945? So if you ask strict, you're asking more dumb questions that they should be asking, but are on the forum. But that's as far as I see. It's still relatively the same. It's that you have to have a good case and be prepared to answer questions. Preparation is the key. So the disasters I see when marriage green card interviews go downhill, and people do it on their own is like, for the interview portion at least, they go and they well, real marriage. I don't need a lawyer. Like, I don't need a prep. Like, obviously we're real. It's just stupid. And they go there and they don't know like basic stuff about their spouse, which is like normal couples don't. A lot of guys don't know their spouse's birthday, the date of birth, their date of marriage. They can't remember how they met their spouse. It's kind of typical from guys, but government expects you to know that. So if you don't prepare, you're gonna have a bad time. Shekar says, I have a question. I'm on a 10-year green card. I'm about to marry my girl, and she is an F1 OPT. Which visa should I fill out for her? F2A, or should I wait till I get citizenship and then file for her? I don't know, Shekar. I got to talk both of you to see how you got your green card, how long you have until you get citizenship, how long her OPT is. Does she have STEM OPT? Are there any violations that are problematic that could be waived based on being a spouse of a citizen as opposed to a green card holder? The reality is that the line for a spouse of green card holder is long, so it'll be a while before you can file for adjustment of status. How long can she maintain status here? There's a lot that goes on, Shekar. That's why I schedule a real consultation. We'll talk about it. Go to jqqlaw.com/contact. That's jqqlaw.com/contact. Akeem follows up. If any sections on the I-240 doesn't apply to me, is it okay to leave it blank? I can't answer how to fill out a form that doesn't apply to you. I can't do that. Then I'll be the preparer of your case, and it's problem. Two Main keeps asking how much the price is. Two Main, just follow my instructions. Go to jqqlaw.com/contact, and I'll reply to you there. Faye says, any green card reach out to you after being detained or such? No. Ice Cube says, if you fail your citizenship twice, will a third exam be easy? Is that a question? I mean, like, if I'm not going to answer that question. It's not a good question. Fit Belly, thank you. We got a lot of repeat questions happening. Halingue says, what happens if your I-485 is denied because your sponsor's not making enough? Then you got to refile it with the sponsors making enough, and hopefully you have the ability to refile. For example, if you're married to a citizen, you can refile. If you're married to a green card holder, you won't be able to unless you maintain the underlying status, which is rare. Thank you, Mimi. Jemaine says, can you apply for citizenship for the 3-year rule if spouse now turns a citizen but married more than 3 years? No, you have to be married with a citizen for more than 3 years. So your spouse had to be a citizen and then 3 years after and married and have a green card. So you have to have been married to a citizen the whole time, not like a person just became a citizen. Demon says F2 H1 process. So you schedule a private consultation and we could talk about it. I mean, H1B, if you're chosen the H1B, your employer usually will hire an attorney to do it. And times you got to do it quick. You got to, like, if you've been chosen in the lottery, you got to get stuff up and running. Wallace says, what's alien registration which takes effect on April 11th? So they're making a requirement that if you entered without permission and some other kind of things, like if you're a Canadian who visited from a land border and has been here for more than 30 days, you got to go online and register and update your address and all that kind of stuff. It's a way for them to track you and find you for deportation. Is the CHNV program, will make it to appellate court? Will the judge pause it? I don't have like a crystal ball to tell the future, so I can answer that question. You're welcome. Okay, do I need a lawyer for the I-751 or should I file myself? It's up to you to make a decision. I think it's wise to hire an attorney for that. I see people mess up big time I-751. That's one of those cases that puts you in deportation if you fail. But it's up to you, Madge. Mario says, is advanced parole still valid legal entry for adjustment of status? Yes. INA section, Immigration Nationality Act, section 245 says if you have admission or parole, that's valid entry for adjustment of status. Patez says, hi, after applying for my wife's green card, she was scheduled for biometrics. Is that normal? Yeah, everyone filing for adjustment of status has to do biometrics unless it's waived because they already have it. Wall says, can you explain the element registries, please? Yes, you have to go to websites better, but for certain people, for example, those who enter without permission to the United States, they haven't been fingerprinted or their names are not in the system. They have to go and register with the government, and that's that. Is Trinidad Tobago on a no-fly list? America? No, there's no no-fly list to America for me, like particularly tied to a country. Maybe South Sudan right now, but that's probably going to be lifted. Hey, Tom says, I got my 2-year green card through CR1 process. I arrived in the USA and didn't work out. She filed for divorce. I don't have any joint documentation. I don't have joint documentation with her, like lease or joint finance. Can I identify and prove without it? It can. I mean, you just got to figure out what to do, how to explain it, and then maybe do an interview. But it's not impossible. So you got to fight it out. Hey, Tom. So you have no choice, anyways. You got to fight it out and get it. Batman says, how can a person withdraw his or her asylum application after getting a green card to marriage? You have to mail a letter to the office that is in charge of the case. Chuckle says, my oath ceremony is Thursday and I got a traffic ticket. Will that be an issue? Very unlikely. Depends on what a traffic ticket is. If you're like, if it's just a basic traffic ticket, probably not. Life of Geo, and you're not getting like 50 traffic tickets. You're not like a belligerent driver or something. Life of Geo says, if my priority date is December 24th, the visa bulletin for May 25th or in February 25th, for May 25th, or what should be done next? I'm F2A. If your case is current, you can file for adjustment of status. That's generally if you're saying your case is current. You're welcome, Wallace. So if it says I have my green card before I got arrested and I travel a lot, can I still travel now? If you got, I don't know, depends on what your arrest is for, but you're gonna have hassle. So you should consult with an attorney in private before making any travel plans. You should have your conviction record, arrest record. It's very unsafe. Soundbase says for adjustment of status, my college student daughter need a co-sponsor even if I have 40 credits. Who is do any co-sponsor if I have 40 credits? It's not about you having 40 credits. It's about the applicant having 40 credits. So if you're like a U.S. citizen applying for your daughter and it's her time for adjustment of status, your daughter has to make the 40 credits, so it's not your credits if you're the petitioner. So I got to see what's going on actually. Arctic says, I'm graduating from EMT school soon. Will this help show my good moral character for naturalization? You don't have to show good moral character. You just have to not show bad moral character for naturalization. I-601A waiver times 2 to 5 years. User 880 says, should one wait for a charge to go to court and wait for the outcome before applying for citizenship? Yes. You have to finish your whole conviction record, all that kind of stuff, finish the court case, and then you can file for citizenship. How long does it take now to get a receipt notice when you file for VAWA? I filed March 4th. I don't know. I don't handle the VAWA cases, so I don't know the timelines on that. Anya says, hi, are I-130 still being processed? And what is the wait time for spouse citizen? Yeah, about a 12 months average. Could be 3 months. It could be 18 months, or 12 months in the middle. Thank you, Kayla, for the badges. American Businessman says, applied for I-130 was 2 years ago. Now waiting for an interview date. Okay. Any idea how much longer? No, it's up to whenever they get around to it. My daughter will apply for me. Okay, so if you had 40 Social Security, is good, but you have to have. I'm not sure if the requirement is you have to have you have to have work permit, work authorization to do it, not just like. I got to see the rules. So sadly, I have to check the rules to see. I don't know if you have work authorization, that's good, but if you didn't, I'm not sure if you can use that or not. I can't remember. But check out the I-64 instructions. You're welcome, Arctic Champ. Good to see you again. User F76 says, if the asylum seeker has health insurance, there will be no problem with the green card. I don't know. I have to see what health insurance is, what's going on the whole thing. And A says, USA is having a major RFI, not good. Okay. I do have DACA. Okay, so you've been working for 10 years on DACA? Yeah, then you're waived. Bella says, in-laws are spitefully threatening deportation because I mentioned divorce before my removal, CR1. Okay, I see what's going on with that. Someone asked, is everything going normal? Okay, is everything going normal? Okay with VAWA? No, they're probably going to crack down on that because there's been a lot of VAWA fraud. Elric says, am I allowed to go home to Spain with green card while Trump? I can't advise you individually, but generally, almost everyone can travel with no problem. Errol says, my U.S. citizen husband is incarcerated and I have an interview in a month. Will I be denied? There's a good chance it's going to happen unless the officer either waives the interview, most likely they won't for detainment. I don't know. Or they'll, they could postpone it or put it on hold. I don't know how to handle. I haven't had a situation with incarcerated spouse. I don't take on those cases. Monterey asks, John is the best. I got my green card with filing paperwork on my own with his guidance and YouTube. I'll tell everyone go with him. Thank you, Monterey. God bless you. Appreciate that. Catherine says, my mom filed for me with my 2 children in 2011. USA has proved my son was 16 and my daughter was 3 years. That was at the NBC. For visa, then we got a visa in 2017. My son turned 22. Okay, you got to use the Child Status Protection Act. I got a detailed video on this on the YouTube page, JQK Law Firm or U.S. Immigration Talk, or schedule a private consultation. We'll see what happened with the case if they're not giving you the time on it for the Child Status Protection Act. You have to act and do certain things in a timely fashion too. So if you didn't do that, you could get messed up. NA says reduction in force at USCIS. We'll see. It's not official. Like they haven't told us anything officially yet. Problem says I have a question. Go ahead, shoot a question. We're going to end the show in a couple more minutes. Yusuf asks, if I do have a court date for driving without a license for a second time, that might affect F1. Nowadays, yeah. Jay says, we got I-75 interview after 4.5 months, not combo and 400 on I-75. Are they doing interviews now? Yeah. Lucas says, green card holder with dismissed misdemeanor can't travel. They can hassle you. They can hassle you at the airport. You're welcome, Saniv. ABCD says, any issues with I-751, even if the charges were dropped? No diversion program, no fine. Probably not for the I-751 case itself, but we got to see what the accusations were. User 76, if you apply for asylum after 6 months and 10 days on B1, is there no problem? There could be a problem. They can still pick you up if they wanted to, but usually no, there's no problem usually. I can't say 100%. Amy says, got approved for VAWA. Do you know the time frame for Justin? Nope. Eldrick says, thank you, sir. I've always watched your videos while waiting for my green card interview last 2 years ago. Oh, God bless. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Congrats on hopefully get the interview soon and you knock it out of the park. Yusuf says, if I do have a court date for driving without driving, answer that question. If a person has a pending asylum case in the U.S., but right now he moved to Canada, we might have abandoned your case. They're probably going to deny they could drop the case. Samantha says, I just filled out the information. Your bio link on the page. Hope you get a response. Sure, I'll get it to you by tonight. User 76 says, if you apply for asylum, answer your question. Thanks, Samantha. Kevin O says, my wife's a U.S. citizen and having an interview next month, but I work with the fake social security number. What should I do? Well, should have talked to a lawyer first. You got to check to see if the social security number was like a real one, like it belonged to somebody or not, because some states and some officers consider that ID theft. And then you got to make sure you didn't file an I-9 and say you're a U.S. citizen in that I-9 application. If you did, that's a kiss of death. You need to talk with attorney ASAP to see how bad the situation is. Hopefully it's not as bad, but it should have been. You should just talk with it, even a consultation first. Not every attorney is going to catch this issue, but the one that asks questions and gets to the bottom of things. Catherine says, can I file for my son again if he aged out? He may not have aged out if he's 22. So if you file for your son again, it's going to take 10 years or something like that, and he can't get married, Catherine. So try to save the case. He says, can I file my son again if he aged out and we did not contact NBC and did not know how to do so because of Africa as years past? Okay, you did timely file. So that's terrible. What you could do, Catherine, is ask. There's an out. I mean, USCIS is more flexible on this, but ask for like a forgiveness. USCIS says they updated USCIS policy manual for this, where they said if there's they'll give exceptions and they'll try to hook you up if you didn't know or couldn't get a hold of you. The embassy is probably not going to be as forgiving, but try to make a request. And with regard to your son, no, you can't file for. You can't file for the girlfriend. I file for him, and he can't get married. And because he has a girlfriend with a child, they may accuse him of being married and lying, and that'll cause problems too. So you got to but this is why people need to have a lawyer. But you got to see what's possible. Hopefully, it's a lot of luck. But that's that. I-130 processing times. Check out uscis.gov sim for their processing times. Go to the website. User 21 says, U.S. citizen trying to sponsor parent allowed in to seek asylum. They can't just let you in. It's trying to sponsor parent allowed in to seek asylum. They won't just let you in to seek asylum, though. You can't just come in to file for adjustment status. Bell says, I'm on 2-year conditional visa. In-laws are spitefully threatening to deportation. Can they? They don't have the power, but if they lie or something like that, it causes your case to be like investigated further. Luca said you said arrest. Yeah, I don't remember what reference to, but Samantha says, okay, thank you, sir. You're welcome, Samantha. Hopefully everything's cool on your situation. User 7, I gotta leave. I got a few more minutes. Like I'll take like 3 more questions. User 7, is 7:30 still running, or is it going to stop for asylum seekers' families? They say they're pausing those. I don't have any official word, but they claim that they paused those. Gabriel says, hi, I filed the petition for my parents since August 2023, and one is approved and the other is not. That's annoying. I don't know what to tell you. King says, why is VAWA ISMS FFC notice taking forever to get? It's USCIS. Fergie says, what are the forms needed for filing for my spouse? Download my guide, an ultimate marriage green card guide that goes over everything. Marriageimmigrationlaw.com is the website. Again, the website is marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Monterey Films follows up. My sister-in-law, USC, is divorced. She went to India and got engaged with her fiance, Indian citizen. She's coming back tomorrow and wants to do a prenup before marriage. Will it be difficult to get K1? No, prenup's fine. K1's not difficult. It's just like, it's just something to get. But she has to have divorce finalized and all that kind of stuff. But it's not. It's just government stuff. It's not easy or difficult. It's just the government. I mean, it is difficult because the government is difficult, but it's just like it's the normal things I deal with on a day-to-day basis for me. Lucas, I didn't hear clearly. Sorry, green card dismissed misdemeanor. Yeah, if you have any arrests, even if it's dismissed, they can hassle you right now, especially. Milk said, if someone's charged misdemeanor 22 years ago, how long would that be on record? Forever. For immigration-wise, it's forever. It doesn't go away. You're welcome, Monterey Films. Okay, let's see one more question. Last question. Michelle says, I had a ticket after hour in park. I got one of those. It's annoying. Reduced the PHV at $520. 20 says sealed, problem to naturalize. I got to see the record. So U.S. Immigration Department doesn't recognize sealed cases and stuff. The problem with sealed is getting the documents related to his heart. So we got to see what the rest was about, the conviction record was about, all that kind of stuff. And it's probably okay, but until you have all the paperwork in order, I can't say. Then Nebo asked, my son changed from F2A to F4 at NBC. That sucks. F2A to F4. So F2A is a minor child of a U.S. citizen, of a green card holder, and F4 is the sibling of a U.S. citizen. So I'm not really sure how that all went down. Please schedule a private consultation. And traveling from Canada, should I be worried? Very unlikely. Hey, is it okay travel with conditional green card? For most people. And C user, good to see you. God bless. Monterey Phil says, does your firm help with prenups? No. You got to get a family law attorney, marriage, divorce lawyer for that. We don't do marriage. We only hyper focus on green cards, particularly marriage-based green cards. But we don't do family law. So we focus on marriage green cards and parents and children, family stuff. People with extraordinary ability for EB-1A or national interest waiver green cards. And then small investment companies. So E2 investors starting a small company in the U.S. or small and medium-sized businesses who are creating subsidiaries of their company in the U.S. and transfer employees. Really hyper-focused on these 3. We do citizenship, removal conditions, reentry permits, consult on complex situations. But the big chunks of cases, that's what we do. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining. We'll be back again next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. I love talking about immigration law. If you want more of this, just check out our YouTube page. Hundreds of hours of it there. I mean, this is episode 273. And then I have a podcast called the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Podcast. It's 376 episodes have been published for that one. I got a magazine called Immigration Lawyers Toolbox Magazine. So if you're really into studying and learning about immigration law, I got the material there for you. And Catherine, last question says, can I file for my son if he aged out? And at the question which says, have you ever filed before? It says yes. Have you ever filed before? So you haven't filed before, but your parent did. So it depends on, there's a question that says, has anyone ever filed for him? You say yes and explain it. For a question that says, have you, as the mother, filed that you haven't filed for him yet? So you can. It's just going to take forever for adult child F2B category. That's like 9 years probably. And he can't get married. Just make sure he doesn't get married. All right, everyone. God, let's be safe. I'll see you all next Tuesday. Until then, have a good one. Bye-bye.